you want me to do the adequate notice thing again, Greg, or no?
Jen did it.
Jen did it, okay,
Actually,
that was all covered?
Jen started and Greg did the notice.
Okay, so we'll just go right to flag salute and head on.
Alice, are we ready? Okay, Mayor, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Is he ready? Yep, we're good to go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back. We've concluded executive session and now in the public session of our meeting. I ask you all now to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The body work for this evening's agenda demonstrates the blocking and tackling that is important to sustaining the operations of the township. It is putting into place measures and proactively taking action to attract and retain capable employees and volunteers so that our departments and boards run smoothly. That is to say, appropriately staffed with capable individuals and performing their duties well for our community members. It is implementing agreements for the smooth operation of the newest affordable housing development in town, as well as optimizing revenue sources for the township. It is investing in township assets to safeguard them and to promote the continued operation of the various departments and activities taking place in these facilities. It's a variety of small and larger potatoes in the mix, but matters which are all important nonetheless. So suffice to say, we have a multiple number of burners on the stove running. I'm delighted to report that this committee is feverishly cooking, making what I believe are sound decisions on smaller but important matters, the amuse-bouches and appetizers, if you will, as well as keeping sight on the future main courses, which require a discernment in the months to come. So let's get cooking with tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Some of us haven't had dinner, Mayor.
Donuts and coffee in the back.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Committee reports, if I may, start with Committeeman McHugh.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's start with the library. The Friends Annual Book Sale starts Saturday, March the 8th. Early admission is available at 7:30 before the library opens for $20. So mark that on your calendar, March 8th, Saturday. There is free income tax assistance available on Wednesdays through April 9th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can call the library for an appointment to see if you qualify for that assistance, that tax assistance. All right? And always good to be networking all the time, so I throw out there that the library is looking to hire an office manager, and so check the library website if it's something that is interesting to you or someone you may know. Right? We'll move on to the Environmental Commission. We can report since last meeting that a grant application has been submitted to gain funds so the updating of the NRI can take place, hopefully, and that will be a way to hopefully help accomplish that in support of the planning board and the master plan and the like. And that's coming 2 years from now. So pay attention to the website because the next phase of the Shunpike Restoration Project, that tree planting project, will be occurring shortly once we start breaking this weather. We got the hint yesterday and today. Spring will be coming, so pay attention to that. And great volunteer opportunity. The Open Space Advisory Committee did meet last week, and they remind us that there is the Rails to Trails Trail Day. The National Trail Days is April 26th. So get your walking or hiking shoes on and hit the Chatham Township trails and meet some of the Open Space Committee, because they'll be at the head of some of the trails. And additionally, there was discussion on consideration of next projects and interests of the Open Space Committee. And there's nothing going forward yet, other than the idea that are there ways to take advantage of utility right-of-ways to revisit something that has been knocked down oftentimes, but it's coming back, and to see if there may be opportunity there to enhance that relatively open space. That's it for me, I believe. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Committeeman Pugh. Committeewoman Ewald.
Thank you. The Senior Center held their meeting. They have been closed for renovations. Do we have an open date, do you know? Okay, we're hoping they'll be open soon. But they had already seen the divider they put in the large room, and it's amazing, and it'll allow for a lot of additional opportunities to host different events. So already off to a great start, so it'll be exciting to see the other changes that are coming through. They will be celebrating their 35th anniversary, and they'll have a celebration on June 6th. They will honor their longtime volunteer, Jim Connolly, who recently stepped down as president, but has been a dedicated and committed volunteer to the Senior Center and to many other organizations in Chatham Township. So I hope we can get residents to come out and join in that celebration and to honor Jim Connolly. They will hold their Shred Event fundraiser will be on April 26th at Chatham Middle School. So hopefully you could support them then. And they are looking for new board members. So if anybody's interested, they can reach out to me through my township email, and I'll connect you with the right people. Colony Pool hasn't met yet. We're hoping to meet tomorrow. Behind the scenes, that advisory committee has been wonderful, providing input on the log roll replacement, which I know in terms of the feedback we got from residents, that's definitely an area of focus. They've also been working on organizing the band schedule and given input on a number of other things. I'm hoping we'll have a new mailer that goes out that looks beautiful, because they had a lot of new wonderful pictures and a lot of great input. The colony fees are being approved today, and the early bird special is scheduled to run through the end of March, so please go ahead and take advantage of that. I'd also like to thank the emergency squad. They had a wonderful celebration this past weekend, which many of us got to join them, honoring their new board members that were elevated into their positions, and their squad, heads of the squad operations. So that was a wonderful celebration. It's really neat to see that group of volunteers. They just have tremendous commitment and long-term dedicated volunteers, and we are really just so fortunate to have them. They also opened up their building on Sunday, their new Chatham Township building that's been under construction for a couple of years now, and we're hoping to have that open shortly. They did an amazing job, and that property is owned by the that building is owned by the emergency squad. They ran a capital fund to do the work, and then kind of live through that whole thing, and that's above and beyond their volunteer work for the squad. So they really have just done such a phenomenal, impressive job, and that'll be an attraction for new members to join, because it really does accommodate those volunteers in many ways. So a huge thank you to them for all their work of the squad and for our community. And that's everything that I have.
Thank you, Committeewoman Ewald. Committeewoman Rowland.
Hi, just a short update. The Red Brick Schoolhouse Museum is open this weekend on Sunday from 2 to 4. There's always new cool things that are donated to the museum that they have there that come right from our neighbors. People find things in their basements or their attics, and they're really cool artifacts that contribute to the history of Chatham. So if you have an opportunity, stop in.
Thank you. Committeeman Hurwitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Continuing on, as Committeewoman Ewald laid out, the emergency squad, which is obviously very near and dear to my heart, revealed a few of the number of calls that they've had over the course of the year. I'll kind of hold off on that and allow, hopefully in the future, for the president and the captain to come before us and give a more thorough report. But for those that, spoiler a little bit, it averages a little over 3 calls per day, which the volunteers all respond to. I'm always amazed by the number of second calls and third calls that also happen while the first call is out, which requires many members, myself included, dropping what they're doing and running and helping out for those in needs. The theme of the night was clearly the dedicated members and the people in their lives that allow them to do the work that they do to care for the community as much as they do. And it's always a really terrific evening to celebrate everybody that contributes. In addition to responding to calls, they also do extensive CPR training for a lot of our residents, our coaches, our teachers, our fire, our police as well too. It's just an invaluable service of the emergency squad who welcomes volunteers of all kind. And I'd kind of challenge everyone who's listening to consider volunteering for the squad and or one of our amazing fire departments as well. It's a commitment that you won't regret. And speaking of, actually, one other thing about that evening, they honored a lot of the members, one of whom for his 20 years of service, but they have what's basically called a Hall of Fame award, which is named after a longtime member, Dick Richards, and the recipient of that was Steve Davenport, who I can personally say has done a tremendous amount for the emergency squad throughout his 20 years of service in many roles, president, captain, and many other roles as well too, highly deserving, and congratulations to Steve. Speaking of the fire department as well too, Mr. McHugh mentioned how warm it's been, but for the 2 days prior, it's been particularly cold in Chatham, and while those of us that like to sit behind a fire or with a blanket, the brave men and women of the Chatham Township Fire Department use that as an opportunity to be out on lakes and help train through frozen pond scenarios and rescue operations as well too. So I just commend their dedication and their service and all that they do as well to keep the residents of Chatham Township very safe. They as well are looking for members, so please consider joining and knocking on their door. I'm sure they would welcome a conversation. And then in terms of recreation, the Joint Rec Committee is meeting tomorrow night, so an update in the future on that. That's all.
Edmund Alperowitz, thank you very much. I will cover things that have not been addressed at this point. Three elements: civic, academic, and athletic, which I think is collectively just a testament to the strength of our community and our school systems. I'd like to give special recognition to 2 Eagle Scouts who have attained that esteemed honor. Troop 8 of Chatham on February 8th honored Benjamin Burnich, who had constructed a bocce court for the senior center here at Myersville, and Daniel Svekovich, whose project supports the Beekeeping Club of Chatham by building a swarm box system to foster hive health. So congratulations to those young men for achieving a rare distinction. Athletic, Chatham Boys Girls Swim teams won the state Group B championship, so hats off to those 2 teams for an astounding accomplishment. Same goes to the Chatham girls basketball team. With a record of 26-2, they fought valiantly in the Morris County tournament final, ultimately succumbing to Morris Catholic, who was ranked #1 in the state. But Chatham had done a superb job this season, so hats off to that team as well. 7 Chatham High School seniors have been recognized as National Merit Scholarship finalists, an esteemed distinction. Top 1% of students nationally who take the exam or are recognized potentially for this award. James Lee, Ishir Rao, Ezra Etienne, Brooks Wang, Ishida Yadav, Gabrielle Yanoda, and Wesley Zartarian. So congratulations to those young men and women. And that's it for my report. So that concludes committee reports. On to the first hearing of citizens. Mr. LeConte, could you kindly provide guidance as to how the first hearing of citizens shall be conducted?
Members of the public are now welcome to come up to the microphone to address the Township Committee. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearings tonight. Those present may step up to the microphone to be heard. If you are watching via Zoom, you may speak during any of the public comment sessions by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you are recognized to speak, please mind the following procedures. Please say your name, spell your last name, and give the name of your street. You do not need to give your street number. All public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, the Township Committee will wait until you finish speaking before responding. There are 2 public comment sessions on tonight's agenda. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment of up to 3 minutes during each public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read during the public comment sessions. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments. Duplicative written comments may be summarized rather than read in full, according to guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. And we do not have any written comments.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. At this time, I invite members of the public to approach the mic. I see no one approaching the mic at this time, so I thank everyone and would like to close the first hearing of citizens.
And there are no hands raised on Zoom either.
Oh, thank you, Mr. LeConte. Great. Next on our agenda is a public hearing and adoption of ordinances. I shall now open public hearing for ordinance 2025-02, cell tower lease. Mr. Shoddy, could you provide a brief summary?
Sorry, I was just deliberating with your attorney on something. The existing cell tower that is located on the DPW property had a lease that expired or is expiring, and so we went out to bid. We solicited some very good quotes through the bidding process, and we are making an award to Gaelic for the wireless communication lease this evening, and it would actually be getting us a higher rent than we've been getting before, as well as an upfront initial payment as well. So this is a win for the township. As far as the public is concerned, it's not going to change in terms of appearance, or it's not going to change anything that would affect visually or operationally. It's a continuation of that existing cell tower.
Thank you, Mr. Shoddy. Mr. LeConte, do we have anyone online?
No, we don't have any hands raised.
I invite members of the public to come before the microphone. I see no one, so I shall now close the public hearing at this time. I now ask if there's a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-02, cell tower lease.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Wonderful. I now open up for discussion amongst the committee.
Which we already had at the workshop.
And
Yeah, I think.
can close now. Close discussion for committee. I'd like to take it to a vote. Mr. LeConte, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland?
Oh, you couldn't hear? Can you not hear me?
We
Yes.
can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mayor Choi?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, ordinance 2025-03, salary ranges. Mr. Shoddy?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this ordinance sets ranges for minimums and maximums for all employees, both hourly, salaried, part-time, seasonal. It does not actually set the salaries, it sets ranges for them. The governing body every year, based on the budget that is considered, sets the salaries by way of a resolution. So you'll still have an opportunity to do that. This just creates parameters, and when I put this together, the last time, which was in 2022, I did it with the intent that it would take us through about 2025, 2026, and it has. And looking ahead, so that way we're proactive, my intent is that this ordinance will take us through to 2028. And the analysis that I put into this was not only just looking at existing salaries for present employees, but what new hires are coming in at, what municipalities around us in the county and the state are looking at. And so this gives us the flexibility to hire and retain the best talent. With that, though, there was a typo that I just picked up on, and I was conferring with our attorney. It is under Part E, Paragraph E, on part-time non-salaried positions for the assistant pool manager and the second assistant pool manager. The minimum hourly rate is 20 and the maximum is 30. It was meant to say 20 and 60. That $10 is not enough to cover a possible variation in rates through 2028. So under E, part-time non-salaried positions, assistant pool manager, second assistant pool manager, the minimum stays as 20. The maximum I'm asking is that that be adjusted to 60.
Since that is not a substantive change, we can vote to amend, and then you can vote to actually adopt the ordinance. Vote on the amendment and then vote for that tonight.
I apologize for that.
No worries. Duly noted. With that, Mr. LeConte, do we have, open up the public hearing for ordinance 2025-03, salary ranges? Mr. LeConte?
No hands raised.
I see no one in the audience approaching the mic, so I will close the public hearing. I now ask if there's a motion to amend ordinance 2025-03, salary changes, as described earlier, with paragraph E, assistant pool manager, minimum remaining as stated $20, maximum to be amended to read $60.
And the same for the second assistant.
And the second assistant. Minimum 20 remaining the same, and maximum being amended to from 30 to 60.
I will make a motion to amend the ordinance as noted by the mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. LeConte, roll call, please.
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
And Mayor Choi?
Yes.
Motion passes, and we can now do a motion to adopt with that amendment.
Do I have such a motion?
I make a motion to adopt 2503 on the salary ranges as amended.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Mr. LeConte, roll call, please.
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
And Mayor Choi?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. Ordinance 2025-04, bylaws update. Mr. Shadi?
Thank you, Mayor. So the bylaws of the township were last amended in 2022. This ordinance makes just a few minor changes. It incorporates the Recreation Committee into the Admin and Personnel Committee. It also includes that the Public Utilities Liaison will be part of that committee, and it also clarifies that the order of the agenda may be subject to change based on circumstances of what's on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Shadi. Mr. LeConte, do we have anyone online?
We have one hand raised. Jessica, you're live?
I'm sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay.
We were so excited to hear from somebody.
Feel free to share if you feel so inclined.
So I thought that was a very exciting ordinance.
I invite members from the audience to approach a microphone. I see no one stepping before the microphone, so I shall now close public hearing. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-04, bylaws update?
So moved.
And I will second that.
Mr. LeConte?
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
And Mayor Choi?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. Ordinance 2025-05, police licensing.
Mayor, this ordinance will codify new requirement by the state that police officers have an active license. Before, police officers would be trained and go through the academy, and they'd hold a certificate, and once they've done that, then that was it. Recent changes at the state level have now required licensing for police officers, and so we are incorporating that same requirement into our ordinances for hiring and retention of police officers.
It's essentially staying in compliance in lockstep with New Jersey state statute.
Correct.
Mr. LeConte, anyone online?
No hands raised.
I see no one's stepping up to the mic, so I shall close public hearing. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-05, police licensing?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. LeConte?
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
And Mayor Choi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. Our final ordinance for the evening, ordinance 2025-06, alarm systems.
Mayor and committee and members of the public, this ordinance updates our current ordinances, our code, as it concerns private alarm systems to reflect the reality. The ordinance that was on the books is older, and that it was reflective of alarm systems that required to be tied into police departments. Now, a lot of them, almost all of them, are managed privately through third parties and do not tie into the police department and go through dispatch. So this is updating that language to reflect the current system of alarms.
Thank you, Mr. Shadi. Mr. LeConte, do we have anyone online?
No hands raised.
I see no one coming before the microphone, so I will close public hearing on this ordinance. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2025-06, alarm systems?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. LeConte?
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
And Mayor Choi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. Introduction of ordinances, we have two for this evening. Ordinance 2025-07, regulating the distribution of unsolicited printed material.
Thank you, Mayor and Committee. This ordinance comes to us through the liaison of the Environmental Commission, Community McHugh. There's been discussions at the Commission about the litter and remnants of the litter that occur when unsolicited circulars are thrown into driveways, at mailbox, on lawns, and sometimes even in the streets. Not only the litter of the paper, or the printed material itself, but also sometimes the bags that they're in. This ordinance regulates that to create a process by which people can opt out of that, and so that way it's not just a free-for-all of litter in the streets, and better for the environment. So it's an ordinance just for introduction at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Shadi. Is there a motion to introduce ordinance 2025-07, regulating the distribution of unsolicited printed material?
I make a motion to introduce 2025-07.
I'll second.
Do we need to discuss? Is there opinions, comments that amongst the committee that would like to?
Actually, if you don't mind,
Stated here.
I'll take a moment on that, because I thought this was actually a terrific example over the period of time where the Environmental Commission was thinking about something, make some introductions, some residents had some ideas, the administration had ideas, the committee had ideas, and it's really for the benefit of the residents. This is actually government working. This is not the most earth-shattering ordinance to be introduced. However, it is something from a life issue that the process was really great to watch. Even going back and forth where some of our former colleagues on the conservative, ultra-conservative bent, everyone was listened to on this. And and comments were made, and then administration went down and got some legal adjustments, et cetera. This really worked out well. So if anyone watched the process from the former mayor Ewald working on this last year and then coming through to this year and the reintroduction by Mayor Choi, I thought this was just a terrific example of how municipal government can really work effectively and include everybody.
Thank you, Committeeman McHugh. Anyone else?
But not to be unconventional, but, and not to put her on the spot, but knowing that the Environmental Commission Chair had raised a hand at one point, I was wondering if she had wanted to comment while we have this topic up for discussion, if the mayor, if she's interested, and if the mayor is comfortable with that.
Certainly happy to oblige in the event she would desires to do so.
Hi, thanks, Greg. This is Jessica at Romeo Pine Street. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to review it, so I can't speak to it.
Thank you. I apologize for putting you on the spot. I know you were very involved in kind of developing some of the initiating of this, so that's why I wanted to give you.
No, that's okay. I forgot there was a meeting tonight, and someone reminded me, so I logged in. So I did not do my homework. I am sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Nobody gets everything, but it came out really, really good, Jessica.
Good. I will read it tonight.
And this is just the introduction, so
Yes.
there's still an opportunity for public input.
That's great, because we have our commission meeting next week, so we can actually review it at the Environmental Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Committeeman Ewald. I will say this particular ordinance has gone through several iterations and sort of matured over time through each iteration. It is a quality of life ordinance in many ways, and an action taken by municipal government to affect that. So with that, unless there's any other further comments, I now ask to introduce ordinance 2025-07, regulating the distribution of unsolicited.
Yeah,
we did already,
the
yeah.
motion, we just,
Yeah. Oh,
shall I call the
yep.
roll?
So we'll close the discussion and we'll take a roll call, Mr. LeConte.
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
And Mayor Troy?
Yes.
Motion passes, and public hearing will be on March 25th.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. Second ordinance for this evening is ordinance 2025-08, Cap Bank ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. So this ordinance is one of those annual ordinances that comes up as part of the budget process. The budget is still in the formulation process. The Finance Committee has been meeting, and we are nearing completion of the draft. However, one tool in every municipality's toolbox is this concept of a cap and a cap bank. The state allows that the cap can go up to 3.5%, and you do that so that way anything that you don't use, you can also bank it in the event that you don't use it. So we're saying that we're increasing the cap from 2.5 to 3.5. Whether we use it or not, that will be coming forth in the introduction of the budget, but we like to increase that anyways. That way, if we don't use it, you get to bank it for future years should there be an emergency and you need that. So that's what this ordinance does.
Thank you, Mr. Shoddy. I now ask if there's a motion to introduce ordinance 2025-08, Cap Bank ordinance.
And I'm sorry, Mary, I just want to clarify, I should always say this. This does not increase taxes. I just want to clarify. This, this deals with the appropriations, which is how much is needed to run operations. However, that ends up being offset by things like revenue, surplus, grants, all these different things. So just by doing this does not mean that taxes are going up. This is simply allowing the township to say, hey, we want to have more room in our budget to increase appropriations, and what we don't use from that, we can bank that for future years, but that expires after 2 years.
Yes.
Does not raise taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Shoddy.
I move that we introduce ordinance 2025-08 for the Cap Bank.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte.
Mr. Alperowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland,
Yes.
and Mayor Choi.
Yes.
Motion passes and public hearing on March 25th.
I will open up for discussion amongst the committee for further comments, questions, above and beyond Mr. Shahadi's earlier comment. One thing I would like to inquire and/or state is we have to date not taken advantage or put into effect the powers that are vested in this ordinance. In other words, we have not gone beyond the original appropriation numbers and forced us to, or put us in a position to capitalize on this, correct?
For this year's budget?
Yes.
This year's budget, we are still finalizing that.
Okay.
I don't want to say yes or no, but still working on that with the finance committee.
Okay.
But we are, just for the benefit of the public and for the governing body, we're hoping to make a presentation at the March 11th meeting of the budget that we are looking to introduce at the March 25th meeting. So that way it could be adopted at the April meeting.
Great.
So
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
More
Shahadi.
coming on the budget soon.
I'll take it. Any other comments, questions?
So we've already voted on it, so we should now be moving on to the consent agenda.
So just so I'm clear, though, that was the introduction of ordinance. When's the public hearing and the, for
March
both of them?
25th.
March 25th for both of them? So
Yes.
that's when we'll vote, will be the public hearing and the final vote.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. We'll move on to approval of consent agenda. Is there a member of the committee who wishes to exclude any particular item from the consent agenda? I would like to carve out Resolution 2025-076, appointing zoning board member, if I may. Thank you, Mr. LeConte. With that said, is there a motion now to approve the consent agenda with the following exclusion? Resolution 2025-076, appointing zoning board member.
So move.
I'll second.
Mr. Alperowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland,
Yes.
and Mayor Choi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So with that, Resolution 2025-076, appointing zoning board member. This is in connection to an appointment of an individual by the name of Manish Somaya to the Township Chatham Zoning Board. Is an individual that I would like to give some recognition. I did meet with him and have a lengthy conversation. He's a 14-plus year resident. He's an accomplished corporate professional in the private sector with extensive finance background. He is a individual who's raised his family here and a successful individual who now is in a position and a deep desire, expresses a deep desire to give back to community, to serve as a volunteer. He's excited to serve as a member, as an alternate on the zoning board. He's incredibly intelligent and exhibits high energy, so I'm eager to welcome him to the zoning board and look forward to his contributions in that capacity.
So I will make a resolution to adopt 2025-076.
I'll second.
Second. Mr. LeConte?
Mr. Alperowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland,
Yes.
and Mayor Choi.
Yes.
Motion passes, and with that appointment, we still have one remaining alternate on the zoning board available, so if anybody knows anyone that wants to volunteer and participate on zoning, please have them reach out to me or the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. I now open up the second hearing of citizens. Mr. LeConte, do we have anyone who wishes to speak online?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
I invite anyone to approach the mic. And I see no one approaching the mic, so I shall now close the second hearing of citizens. I ask if there's a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn for this evening.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, everyone.
You.
I know, wow.
You counted the right number of jelly beans.